Right, and welcome back to another story time session. This one, I promise you, is just a little bit more dramatic. We'll be reading The Library Dragon, written by Carmen Agredidi. Just this one is a little bit special. It has been written in theatre script style by Stephanie Bang. So let's hear what The Library Dragon is all about. Sunrise Elementary School had a big problem. The new librarian, Miss Lotta Scales, was a real dragon. I was hired to guard the library. She took her job very seriously. The hundreds of new clean books replaced the old smudged ones. These shining gems neatly lined the shelves of her library lair. My books are in perfect order. No 398.2s in the 500s. Absolutely no fiction to be found among the biographies. She kept a fiery eye out to make sure no one removed any books from the shelves. Her motto was, "A place for everything, and that's where it stays." The very thought of sticky little fingers, touching and clutching, pawing and clawing, smearing and tearing her precious books just made her hot under the collar. She thought that the way some books spread an unfounded fear of dragons was positively inflammatory. Books that depict cruelty to dragons should never have been published in the first place. She got so fired up about this, she didn't just discard the books. She incinerated them. The children watched in awe. Well, that settles it. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And that Miss Scales is a real dragon. All right. Not surprisingly, the children at Sunrise Elementary School began to dread Library Day. It wasn't long before the teachers stopped sending the children to the library. They kept coming back, singed. First the principal tried to reason with Miss Scales, but his plan backfired. Instead of cooling her down, he just fanned the flames. And finally, don't forget, who does the hiring, Miss Scales? Oh, really? And who does the firing? She gave him a glare and a flare that caught his tie on fire. As he waved the smoke out of his face, he said, "Now cut that out." No smoking in the library. The principal fumed. The teachers were incensed. Worst of all, the children had missed reading and story time for weeks, and their grades were going up in smoke. So the teachers formed a delegation. After a trip to the staff room, to fortify themselves, they paid a visit to Miss Scales. Miss Lotta Scales smouldered as she listened to sweet Miss Lemon, the kindergarten teacher. And most importantly, Miss Scales, dear, the children miss their story time. Story time, schmory time. Why, if I let the children touch these books with their gooey fingers and snotty noses, this library wouldn't last a week. Miss Lotta Scales stared so furiously at the teachers that they threw down their weapons and clanged out, all except sweet Miss Lemon. You know, Miss Scales, we all love the books as much as you do. But the library does belong to the children. Good night, Miss Lemon. You slay me. Why, the idea of story time is simply medieval. As usual, the dragon had the last word. She raised her claws above her head and roared, which sent Miss Lemon scurrying from the library. That Miss Lemon, he's a real spitfire. Miss Lotterscales had spewed so much smoke and fire at sweet Miss Lemon that she had to lie down for a nap. She was really dragon. In fact, she was burned out. Oh, being a library dragon can be such a lonely job. At the same moment as Miss Scales closed her scaly eyelids, Molly Brickmayer accidentally wandered into the library. Molly was on a quest. She had lost her glasses and couldn't see a thing without them, unless it was right beneath her nose. She stumbled into a bookshelf, and a book fell onto her lap. She never saw the sign that read, "Do not touch the books, for display only." It was over her head, so she held the book right under her nose and began to read aloud. Once upon a time, there was a magic dragon named Snuff. First a class of second graders in line for the water fountain heard her and tiptoed in to listen. Then the fourth graders outside playing kickball heard a story being read and crowded around the windows. "Speak up, please!" And with that, Snuff wiped a hot tear from his snout and smiled at the little girl. Word of story time in the library spread like wildfire at Sunrise Elementary School. Everyone was listening. Even the library dragon, and her ears were burning. Slowly Miss Lotterscales rose up from behind the bookshelf and looked at the boys and looked at the girls, all huddled around Molly. She'd never seen anything quite like this before. The children actually looked as though they belonged there. "I love you, Snuff." "Give me that book, Molly Brickmayer." "Here you go, Miss Scales." Miss Lotterscales took the book and eyed it suspiciously as it hung from her claw. First she sniffed it, then she checked the spine for cracks, then she checked each page for stains and smudges. Finally Miss Scales looked around at the children and cleared the smoke from her throat. No, where were we? Why, yes, I love you, Snuff." At first the children were too nervous to listen, but when Molly Brickmayer climbed up onto Miss Lotterscales' lap and didn't get scorched, they relaxed. "Miss Scales, you are so warm." "Don't interrupt." Everyone was listening so intently that they almost missed it. As she read, Miss Lotterscales began to fall off the linoleum. Imagine that. Scales began to fall. With a clickety-clack, 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 and a clickety-clack. Clickety-clack. Until all that was left was Miss Lottie, librarian and storyteller, sitting on a mountain of yellow, green, and purple scales, with Molly Brickmayer, dragon slayer extraordinaire, on her lap. The rest of the children warmed up to Miss Lottie right away. The changes in Miss Lottie's new kid-friendly library were hard to miss. So not surprisingly, all the children at Sunrise Elementary School began to love Library Day. Miss Lottie's transformation, however, was not complete. But then, every librarian needs to be just a little bit of a dragon, or else who would guard the books? And that's the end of my tale. See you next time with possibly another dramatic story.